How's it going, YouTube? Links Forte here, bringing you an announcement video that I am in the National Pokeball League, the NPL Minors Tournament. Basically, it's a qualifying tournament. If I do well enough, I get into the NPL Minors, which could springboard me into the NPL Majors. If you guys don't know what the NPL is, what it is, it's like the GBA or the UCL. It's just a draft league format. The only difference is, or at least this time around, I don't know how it's going to work in the future, but this time around it was an open draft. There were no restrictions such as tiers or points. We could take anything. For instance, a team could have had an Metagross, Landorus, T, Mega Gardevoir. What else is out there? Gengar. It could have had like a team fully of OU Pokemon with no restriction on it whatsoever. So it was interesting because I'm so used to there being a restriction. I think I've done open draft one time before, and even then it was something so small. It was like 10 people, and we were just doing this to have like a small little 3 or 4 hour tournament, right? Like not something that's very important or somewhat important that would springboard me into doing something long term like NPL majors or even minors. So like I said, it was an interesting process to go through, but let me talk about how everything is going to work. So the way this tournament is going to work, there were 32 people selected. I think some of them were already in minors and they were just they were asked to compete in this, and then they were trying to fill places, so they pulled more people. I don't know how many they pulled, but I was one of the few that got in. And what's going to happen is we're all going to compete in a tournament. So we've already drafted. It was split into 2 divisions of 16. So the 2 divisions were separated from their draft. So Group A could have drafted the same thing as, or Group A basically drafted the same thing as Group B. Anything in Group A that was drafted did not affect Group B, is the best way to say it. Man, my thoughts are not together. It's after midnight. So that after that was done, or after the 2 groups were split up, it was randomized as to when you would pick. I was able to draft 3rd in my draft, and then it was a snake draft from there. 1 to 16, 16 to 1, 1 to 16, etc., etc. So after we all drafted, we selected which Pokemon. We selected 2 Pokemon that would use Z moves, all offensive Z moves. You cannot use Z support moves such as Z conversion or Z hypnosis or anything like that. Like, they all had to be offensive. What is it? Devastating Drake is one of them. I forget the fairer one. It's like Twinkle Tackle or something like that. Gigavolt Havoc is the electric one. It had to be those. So that was another little interesting thing. Like, I want to see, I think using Z support moves will never be allowed in any draft league. I think the NPL is the first major league to start their season, because they've already played season 1. So I think they're gonna be kind of the tests. I don't want to say dummies, but that's like the best word I have to say it. Like, they're going to be the ones to test it to see what happens. Like, I think Tapu Lele is still, in the league, and people are saying that should probably be banned. The same goes for like Pheromos. I think that's in the league. I'm not sure if they banned that or not. I have to go back and look at the rules. But it's just, they're basically the ones that are going to test it. And I think everyone else is just going to follow suit as to what happens from there. Yeah, other leagues such as GBA uses points, or the UCL uses tiers, but Tapu Lele, for me personally, that's one of those, like, it's a 50-50 of how I feel for it to be in league format. But I think the NPL would be the perfect league to test it, because the NPL, I don't even want to say in my opinion, I think this is just a hands down fact, has the best battlers on YouTube. But anyway, enough of talking about my opinions, what Pokemon should and shouldn't be allowed in league. But I do think the NPL is basically the test for everything to come. So after we split in divisions, we were split into groups, and now I know who I'm going to be playing. So I'm trying to figure out what my teams are going to be for these 3 people. At the same time, it's New Year's, so Happy New Year's. I should have said that at the beginning. Happy New Year's, you guys. It's not New Year's Day when I'm recording this, so I'm probably out being stupid with my friends. But yeah, Happy New Year's. I hope whenever you're watching this, I hope that, you know, you had a great night, morning, day. I hope 2016 wasn't as bad as for you as it was everybody else. Yeah, so let me just talk about my draft here. Let me go ahead and pull everything up. So for my draft, I really didn't have a plan going in. In the past, when I've done draft leagues, I've kind of sat down and said, I need these Pokemon to make everything work for me, and then I filled them around with Pokemon that can make them work. We're only allowed to draft 8 Pokemon, with this being a small tournament. So I really didn't have a big plan to go with. Anything I probably would have come with wouldn't have worked out as well as I wanted to, just because I was kind of limited on resources, which I still think it's kind of, it's a good in a sense, because it allows me to be more creative, which I haven't done in a while. I haven't had to do. Like the last league I was in, there were some good people, and then others, you know, they just took a set from Smogon. Like, they didn't really try to counter you. So it is what it is. This is really why I wanted to be in the NPL. I wanted to get better. I wanted to expand my horizon. But this first Pokemon that I drafted, I've been playing with it on the ladder, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to see how it would fare in league play. Its move pool, not necessarily limited, but it has a lot. It has really big weaknesses. This Pokemon is Kartana. If you know, I click on where I'm supposed to click. So with Kartana, I don't know if you guys have ever used Kartana. It's insanely fast. Just if I can pull everything up the way it's supposed to come up. It's base 109 speed. So when you max out the speed and you make it jolly, it hits at a 348 speed. So it's really good because it makes it like the perfect choice Scarf Pokemon, which is how I've been seeing it run on the ladder the most. Like, I've seen the SD sets as well, but I think the Choice Scarf set is probably Kartana's best set, just because it doesn't allow Marowak to completely counter it. But the thing is, with Kartana, like I said, its move pool is kind of limited as to what it can do. You got to think it's fire Pokemon that are going to be switching in on it mostly, trying to take any hit it can. Fire and steel Pokemon, I'm sorry, are the Pokemon that are going to be trying to switch in on it. And the thing is, the only rock type move it gets is Hidden Power Rock. Kartana has base 59 special attack. You're never running a special attack investment on this thing. You're never running a special set on this thing. No, there's no point. Anything you would think about running, anything physical would, even 4 times resisted, a physical move would probably do more damage in the long run. But I really wanted to see how it would fare, and I thought, you know, if push came to shove, I could probably make a weird SD set work. It also gave me a defogger, and not necessarily that's what I was going for, but it gave me that option to run defog in the long run. Oddly enough, it does get Calm Mind, but like I said, Kartana is so specially weak, even on the special defense side. It's 31. A Hidden Power Fire, probably from like Eradicate, is probably gonna OHKO this thing. So, but like I said, it was something I wanted to try. I wanted to see how it would work. But looking at Kartana, I knew I had to kind of lower the weakness a little bit, or at least try to help it out and do what it can. So I was going through everything, and I was like, okay, I need this Pokemon, I need this Pokemon. But the issue is, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, yo, don't forget, you probably need to get this type as well. And once he put that in my head, I prioritized that when I shouldn't have. Like, I probably could have got something completely different, and it probably would have changed the shape of my draft. I don't know, but I prioritized Mega Manectric. Now, like I said, I don't think I should have prioritized it. I probably could have gotten it like 2 or 3 rounds later. But he put the thought in my head and it was there, and I'm like, I messed up, and I was so scared that my next pick wouldn't be there, even though, you know, there was only 2 more picks after me of that round, which means there were 4 more picks until I drafted again, so it was probably going to be safe anyway. But as for Mega Manectric, what this gave me was something to give me a little bit of momentum as well as an intimidator. So Mega Manectric, fast Pokemon, one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. I believe it's 135 it hits. Yeah, 135. I think that ties with Mega Lopunny. Don't quote me on that, but I think that ties with Mega Lopunny as a base speed. And it just gives me a few options. I can run various hidden powers. And with this new mechanic in Gen 7, you're no longer hindered by certain stats if you want to run your various hidden powers. If I want to run HP Fire, I don't have to lose that speed stat. Although, you know, I'm gonna run Flamethrower, but that's just the, you know, the example I wanted to give. So, like I said, Mega Manectric gives me, you know, a Volt Switcher. Gives me options. You know, if I see something that I know can come in and take on Mega Manectric very well, I can make that prediction, get out of there. You know, it just kind of depends on how my opponents play. That's another thing that Mega Manectric allows me to do. It allows me to get a feel from my opponent. At least the way I play, it allows me to get a feel from my opponent. So there's not really much to say about Mega Manectric. It does very few things. It does Volt Switching and Thunderbolting, Overheat or Flamethrower, and then Hidden Power. It's usually what its moveset is. I can't say that I'm going to stray too far from that, but we'll have to see how everything plays out. Now, the next Pokemon, like I said, this was supposed to be my second pick. What I needed was some priority because, as you saw on the special side, Kartana is very frail. There's probably going to be a lot of switching. Kartana has some physical bulk, you know, 131 defense, but the HP stat's not there. But I needed some speed, I needed some priority, and that's what I wanted to make sure I had in this draft. I wanted to make sure I got a good priority mon. I thought about, you know, maybe getting a Sucker Punch Pokemon or a Mach Punch or Bullet Punch even, but what I decided was that I needed extreme speed, and my favorite extreme speed Pokemon is Dragonite. Dragonite also happens to be one of my favorite Pokemon, probably top 5 easy. But I think Dragonite is the strongest E-Speed user in the game, I think, because with his attack stat and everything. But what I like about Dragonite is that I can have various options. I can run a special set, which I've pulled this off in the past, and it was not the easiest thing to do, but I pulled off an agility special set. I think it was Hurricane, Draco Meteor. I don't remember the last attack, but it might have been something like Flamethrower. But I've used this set in the past just to help myself out with whatever weakness my team had. It's not the easiest thing to pull off. But once you do it, Dragonite can't. It's really hard to beat Dragonite after he's fully set up. So I'm not saying I'm gonna run it because I'm posting it in this video talking about it, but it's an option that, you know, it's really there for me. But, you know, the obvious 2 sets that Dragonite runs is Dragon Dance, if I can type tonight, Dragon Dance, Extreme Speed. I have no idea what I just did right there. Dragon Dance, Extreme Speed, like Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Fire Punch even, Iron Head for pesky fairies, or, you know, I can throw a choice band on it. Dragonite has options, and that's what I really like about Dragonite. I'm not saying it's an unpredictable mon, but you can never, like in a draft format, you just really never know what Dragonite's bringing to the field, or bringing to the table. I'm sorry. Well, field works. So it was something that I needed to have. By the way, in this draft, there's only 3 Pokemon I've ever used. 5 are completely new to me in a draft format. But I kind of wanted some stability. It's something I knew. Like some people, one guy in my group, I think he said he used 7 of his 8 mon are completely new to him, which I can respect. You I think everyone wants to see how, you know, the 7th gen Pokemon fare, but at the same time you want to use things you've never used in a draft league, even from the past generations, just to see, you know, how you will use them, how they work for you, how they work in draft league in general. But at the same time, I think you need something that you know that is tried and true, so you have some kind of success, or you have like a backup plan or something like that. And that's what Dragonite is for me. Dragonite I've had some success with. I've had, you know, I've joked to say that Dragonite never fails me. Dragonite loves me, you know, because I had a battle one time where 3 or 4 turns in a row Dragonite was paralyzed, and it was choice banded, and it was locked into extreme speed, but it never got paralyzed and ended the battle like with 4 kills in a row or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but Dragonite's a great Pokemon, and I think it's a great Pokemon for the draft. The next Pokemon I have, it's another favorite of mine. No, I can't say it's not top 5 for me, because I just love this little, I don't know what to call it. I love this Pokemon. When it first came in, I didn't really like it because it was difficult to get. But once Oris came around, a friend had bred one for me, and you know, I gave it the necessary moves, and I've loved it ever since. It's been like a crutch for me, so I guess you could say Sylveon was a must-have for me to draft. And halfway through Oris, I started using Sylveon in different ways. When I first started using Sylveon, it was basically special defensive, wish, protect, aromatherapy, or no, heal bell. Does it get aroma? I don't think it gets aromatherapy, because I doubt I would have used it. I know I used heal bell. Yeah, it doesn't get aromatherapy, so it's heal bell and hyper voice. That's what I was always using. And then over time, as my battling skills gotten better, I started using the calm mindsets. I started using sub baton pass. I started using choice specs. I think even one time I used choice scarf. I don't know why. It was just something funny. And Sylveon, it gives me different options. I can use offensive. I can use defensive. I can use special defensive. I can use just a passer, a cleric. It's something I think every team needs, is a cleric. Now, mind you, this is a 8 Pokemon draft, so you probably aren't gonna get a cleric with 8 Pokemon. But in a bigger draft, 11, 12 Pokemon, I think you always need a cleric. And Sylveon has always been my go-to cleric. And it's just a hard hitter. Like choice specs, pixelate, hyper voice. I think it's one of the hardest hitting moves, in my opinion, in the game. Granted, I play at level 50 a lot because, you know, I'm primarily a Wi-Fi player, but it's a great move. You know, everyone doesn't always expect it. Majority of the time they see Sylveon, they say, oh, this thing is just a cleric, it's physically defensive, it's gonna heal bell, it's gonna hyper voice you and leave, it's gonna wish pass. You just can't, I don't think you can ever underestimate Sylveon, and I think some of the higher players know that. This next Pokemon, I've used it in the past, and I really don't know how I felt about it, but what I noticed in my team, what was lacking, remind you, this Pokemon, I guess you could say this Pokemon was a backup. Originally, I wanted Crocodile, mostly for knockoff support, because when I was looking at everyone's team, I figured this was the point in the draft that I needed to start looking at everybody else's teams and trying to make sure that nothing can just beat me outright. Like, all the Tapus had gone in the first round. Honestly, that was a secondary reason as to why I got Kartana, is because when I was playing on Showdown in the ladder, I would run into a Tapu, and I think people would underestimate Kartana, or either that or they just didn't know what it does or what it did. So they would send a Tapu in on it thinking it's going to take a hit, but if you predict it right, 3 of the 4 Tapus die to Kartana. Tapu Fini dies to Leaf Blade in 1 hit. I think even physically defensive, it's an Oko, or it's pretty close to an Oko. Smart Strike takes out Tapu Lele and Tapu Bulu. Now, Tapu Koko, I think, lives a Leaf Blade. I know it lives a Smart Strike, but I think it lives a Leaf Blade. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I know it takes a lot of damage either way. Like, I think it does about 90% to Tapu Koko. So that was the secondary reason I wanted Kartana. I wanted to use it to see how it fared, and then I wanted to, you know, draft it. But I'm looking at this team, and Mega Magnetric, like I said, it was like a weakness for me. And so I wanted another versatile Pokemon. I wanted something that could be unpredictable. And I wanted something I hadn't used. Like I wanted Crocodile, like I said, but somebody had picked it up either later in the round, or earlier in the round, or later in the previous round. I just don't remember. And so I needed a knockoff user, and I needed a ground type. So I picked up Gliscor. Gliscor gives me another Defogger. If I so choose, it gives me a Volt Turner. You know, it gives me that second half of Volt Turn. Gives me a Swords Dance, obvious Earthquake. That means I don't have to run Earthquake on Dragonite. It gives me immunity to anyone else who wants to Volt Switch, and it gives me some speed. Other than that, man, Gliscor has options. I've seen people use Gliscor in some weird ways in the past. I think one time I've seen Choice Scarf Gliscor. I'm not saying that's what I'm going to use, but if I can make it work, I'll try and make it work. Like, I want to I want to get some creativity, and it's gonna take some thinking down. Looking at the 3 people that I have to battle in my group, it's gonna require some creativity on my part, which I'm kind of excited about. And let me see, Gliscor, I can't really think of anything else. Honestly, there was another Pokemon I was supposed to go before Gliscor, but I hadn't narrowed it down yet to which I wanted, because they were both still on the board, and I wanted to make sure I got my ground type before, you know, it was taken again. So the Pokemon that was supposed to go before Gliscor was a water type, and I was narrowing it down between Milotic and Suicune. Now, I like Milotic just because I have experience with it, and Suicune, if you've ever battled a Suicune, you probably hate it. But when you use it, you love it. And I just had more experience with Milotic. Both of them could phase, which is what I wanted. You know, Dragon Tail, Roar. They both had access to Ice Beam. And that's what I needed. I needed something to slow down any ice types to take on Dragonite and Gliscor. So what I ultimately ended up doing was, oh my goodness, what is going on here? Ignore all of that. Ignore all of that. Okay, so back to what I was saying. What I ended up going with was Suicune. Now, the reason for Suicune is because it's a more versatile Pokemon than Milotic, in my opinion. Suicune can be offensive, it can be defensive, obvious phaser, it's a setup Pokemon. That's kind of the reason I decided to go with it. Again, I'm still looking at other people's teams, and I just felt like Suicune was a better pick. Like, it doesn't have the reliable recovery that Milotic has in Recover, but it has rest, and which means, you know, my opponent is, depending on the set I run, my opponent could end up getting 2 free turns. But at the same time, if you get rid of any Pokemon that beats Suicune, Suicune just wins. So that's kind of why I wanted to go with Suicune there. Now, for my next pick, I needed a fire type, and I originally wanted Entei, and I was going to get it, I think, in this exact round that somebody picked it up, which is a great pick for it to still be around. Not that I was trying to get Entei, Suicune, and Raikou. Like, I think Raikou went like 3rd round or something like that, but I wanted Entei just to get another E-Speed user. It gives me a good fire type, it gives me a fast fire type, it gives me a strong fire type. But I wanted Entei because I had used it before. It was something I was comfortable with, And it's a spammable Pokemon. Like, it's a Pokemon you can just spam. Like, any attack it uses, you just spam it. And that's kind of what I wanted. And when it got taken, you know, I had already, like, anytime I have something in my head, I always have a backup for it. Like with Sylveon, I had Florges in mind, had somebody taking it. Dragonite, I had Salamence, had somebody taking Dragonite. But Gliscor, oh yeah, Crocodile, and I ended up getting Gliscor. With Suicune, Milotic. The issue was with Entei, this is before it even got picked, I wasn't sure what the backup was going to be. Like, I'm scrolling through all the fire types, like, I need a fire type, I need a fire type. What I ended up settling on was Darmanitan. Now, even in normal battles, I almost never use Darmanitan, just because it's not something it's not a Pokemon I really like. Like, you know, Flare Blitz it's a spammable move, which is why I decided to just go with it. But I don't know, it's something about Darmanitan's style, like the way it's used, I don't really like myself. But I'm looking at Darmanitan's move pool, and I look at it as it's another Pokemon that I can be creative with. And that's, like I said, that's what I wanted. I want to try to, you know, boost my creativity while I'm here. I want to win, but at the same time, I want to try to be creative, come up with different things. And that's kind of the reason why I chose Darmanitan. You know, I'm, like I said, and at this point, my draft is, to me, is pretty much finished. Like, I have 7 Pokemon, and I'm like, I don't know what my 8th Pokemon is going to be. I had no idea what my 8th Pokemon is going to be. Like, I'm just like waiting, like, this is the 7th round, so I have like 23 picks before my next one. I'm just looking, and I'm thinking, I have no idea what I want. What I decided to get, and I'm not saying I regret making this pick because of the nerf, but I just think I probably could have made a better pick. But at the same time, like I said, I don't know what I really wanted. Like, it was an 8th pick that I couldn't think of anyway. So I went to something I knew. I grabbed Sableye. The reason for Sableye is because, like I said, I was at this point looking at other teams, and I'm trying to figure out, what do I need? I see steel types, I see normal types, I see everything I don't want to face. And I looked at my team and said, I have Gliscor to set up rocks, but I can't bring rocks to every battle because that hinders my team. So what I need is something that can cause passive damage. So Sableye can do that for me with Toxic and Will-O-Wisp. Now, why I said the nerf was because if you're not sure what happened in 7th gen, dark types are immune to Prankster user. Like, I think anything that's being used with Prankster, it doesn't work. So I have to be very careful. I have to relook at my opponent's teams to see if any of them have dark types. I think one of them does. Like, I know one of them has Absol, but you're not using status moves on that Pokemon anyway. But yeah, I have to go back and look at my opponents to see if any of them have dark types. But yeah, that's kind of the reason why I drafted Sableye. It gives me another priority user, which I only had Dragonite with E-Speed, so it gives me Sableye. I know it gets Shadow Sneak. I think it gets Sucker Punch. Yeah, it gets Sucker Punch too. Shadow Sneak. Oh well, that's supposed to be Shadow Sneak. So yeah, it gives me another priority Pokemon. It's not going to be attacking much, but it gives me something else to do. I mean, overall, like I said, I didn't have a plan going into this draft. I was, in a sense, making it up as I go. Like, I was planning ahead, but at the same time making it up as I go. Like, I didn't have a set plan. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see, you know, different players, different play styles, to try and get better. I mean, I'm confident in my abilities as a battler, but I'm not confident in my abilities to be creative, and that's what league battles usually come down to. It's who can be the most creative. And yeah, let's go. I'm ready, I'm hyped, and I'm just ready, man. I'm ready. I don't. There's like, I'm not saying much about it because I just want to. I want to expand my knowledge. Like I've gotten to see a bunch of different things. Like it's funny because over the past few months, I've gotten to know some people, but the people that I've sort of talked to, like I've been kind of busy, so I haven't been talking in the chat as much as I would like. But the people that I've seen there, like it's weird because all of these people know each other, and I'm the odd man out. Like I think I've talked to like 2 people prior to joining or prior to being invited to the NPL tournament, and I think it's like it's the greatest thing to me because, like I said, I want to get better. I want to learn new things, and this is the best way for me to do it, to join the best draft league there is. So I mean, I really don't have anything else to say other than, expect some battle videos coming soon. This is Link's Forte. I'm out. Peace.